But we need to look at this as a possible bioweapon. And the fact that you had these globalists, these elitists involved in this type of cross-contamination work as far back as the late 1800s tells you that the state of the art in this field today could be very, very advanced, much more advanced than you will be led to believe by the fucking media. So, 2005, you have birds and swine combined together in China, okay? Before 1918, you had cross-contamination of viruses between different animals and humans, creating the possibility of wild viruses that are able to infect not only animals but humans. But the real thing is the eugenicists who were behind the funding for this type of research, namely the Rothschilds, and I'm sure if more work was done at looking at the research behind all of these medical experimentations, that you would find some other very prominent names in there as well, like Rockefeller and etc. Okay? Which brings me to the point, and that is that whatever this particular outbreak is, whether it's a natural virus that was created by human tampering many years ago, or whether it was a virus that was enhanced by man, or even created out of whole fucking cloth by humans in order to create a deadly virus to wipe out a significant portion of the population. That is a very serious question, and it needs to be addressed. Not only in the context of what that means for us as people, faced with shadowy people behind the fucking scenes who want to destroy us, the so-called useless eaters, and get us back to a so-called sustainable population. But what it boils down to is, even if it isn't a man-made virus, even if it isn't a man-made disaster waiting to happen, it probably is the result of fucking human intervention where it has no fucking business going. I ask you, what is there possibly to gain from cross-contaminating viruses to all manner of animals and humans? You only open up those animals and us, humans, to viruses that we would never be susceptible in the first fucking place. So there is a very real possibility that this particular thing that we have right now is a reconstituted version of the 1918 H1N1 virus, which in and of itself was not particularly deadly, but in combination with a secondary bacterial infection was incredibly deadly, along with the maybe test run in China where there was a link between bird and swine. You have today this hodgepodge virus which contains bits of bird genetics, bits of swine genetics, and bits of human genetics. Now, how much of a fucking accident could that be? It could be, but it all goes back to experimentation that was done and financed by elitists who want the world fucking rid of people. Or a whole hell of a lot of them anyway. So, bottom line, it's man's fault. But the question of whether or not this is a controlled release of a man-made virus is one yet to be answered. And indeed, it's still yet to be answered whether or not this is a real and honest threat and something that's coming to your neighborhood soon. Or is it just a massive fucking distraction to turn our eyes away from something even more fucking sinister? That's how bad things are, folks. That's how bad things are. When you can look at something that can cause massive deaths and think that it's just a fucking distraction. So keep your eye on the fucking so-called swine flu and do a little research and find out that things aren't exactly the way you might think they are. Thank you. Good night.